Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news as we discuss the Glazers' refusal to back Erik ten Hag in this transfer window. Some big stuff coming out this morning about that. Also, that United actually held talks at Carrington with Gakpo's agent in the last fortnight and decided they couldn't afford him and let him go to Liverpool. We'll also be pulling out of a right-back deal this January because there is no money for Manchester United. Also talks about Morata and a few other bits and bobs as well. But ultimately, where we are this morning, unfortunately, and where we've figured out we are ever since Christmas Day, really, is that Manchester United and the owners, the Glazers, refuse point blank to spend money in the January transfer window and back this manager. Their stance is they are out, they are looking to sell. Why should they spend money when they are trying to sell the football club? So effectively, as we feared and as we've discussed quite a few times, we are in a position now where these owners of this football club are effectively saying, we don't care, and we are writing off another season for the second year in a row. And they don't care. And it puts you in a position where you're like, am I moaning for nothing? Welcome to Members Club AMT. Am I moaning for nothing? Because effectively, they don't care. But I do care. I do care about this football club. I do care about this fan base. And I do care about the sport of football and being competitive in it. I look at Man City last night and I see a team that will relentlessly chase Arsenal down to win another league title 3 in a row. I look at Arsenal and the development that they've had by backing a manager that clearly knows what he's talking about. And then I look at Manchester United, and for the second year in a row, I am supporting a football club that has decided at Christmas time to down tools and give up. We basically are doing it for the second year in a row. We are saying that the season is over at Christmas unless we get a miracle. And that miracle will be, can this squad get top 4 and win trophies as it is? And I'd have to say it's got to be no, because a lot of our squad have been playing 3 times a week since the start of August. A lot of that squad will have to play 3 games a week until May. We are short up front. We have got issues in that squad. We will get injuries. We will get loss of form. We will be inconsistent. And we're up against teams that are doing things to counter that. So I think it's going to be very, very difficult for Manchester United to be competitive this season. And I think it's unacceptable that we are in a position where the Glazers can say we're not going to spend because we want to sell the club. It's a giant middle finger from the owners to the fans, as Beaver Knight. But you know what annoys me a little bit? And look, the whole point of this community is to try and, you know, bring all sides in, as we always have done for years. I might not agree with it, but, you know, that's the whole point of it. It can't be a dictatorship. But I have seen some things, and I completely disagree with it. People are, like, coming out with, you know, everyone's got a different, you know, approach to life and a mentality. But I have heard a few people going, if it means the Glazers will be gone in the summer, I'm happy that we don't spend in January. And I'm like, but that's just something you've made up in your head. You've made that up. It's like if you eat your Brussels, you can go and have an hour on your FIFA console. That's what happened to me at Christmas Day, actually. But you're making it up in your mind. That's not how it works. They're not selling. They haven't said to you, if we don't buy in January, we'll sell the club for the summer. All right, then we're all right with that. That's not what's happening. That's not what's happening at all. They're in control. They will sell when they want to sell. They might sell next year. They might not spend in the summer either. I don't care whether they sell tomorrow, next month, or in the summer. They're a bloody disgrace. I'm not cutting them any slack. They're a bloody joke. And, you know, it's the second season in a row. It's not even the second season. It's many seasons in a row. But it's the second season in a row that we as a fan base are having to sit here halfway through and go, basically, this is another season where we're probably not going to get the Champions League. It's not acceptable. And you know what? A part of me thinks, is this sale talk just a very clever propaganda piece by the Glazers to take the pressure off? Because people are almost going, well, it's the Glazers. They're absolutely disgraceful. They're not backing the manager. They're writing the season off, but they are trying to sell the club. Are they? What is the real plan? Is it that simple, or is there something more sinister at play where they're just playing emotions to, you know, to get away with stuff again? But look, this is coming in from Fabrizio Romano. I should have said that at the start. So Fabrizio has said that United's owners, the Glazers, do not want to spend whilst they're trying to sell the club. And it puts us in a position where we're discussing it now, where I don't know what we're supposed to salvage from this season. I think we'll beat Wolves on Saturday, and then I think we'll beat Bournemouth, and naturally short-termism will quash long-termism, because it'll go, I don't know what people are moaning about, 9 points from 9. He's only lost 1 in the last 17, but the next 3 games are not going to dictate our season. It's the next 3 months, and we just haven't got the squad. We haven't got the squad. If Bruno gets injured, no one can play in the number 10 position, because if you move Eriksen there, you've got to put Fred next to Casemiro. We are very, very weak beyond about 9 first-team players, and it's 100% on the Glazers, I'm afraid, and it's not just the Glazers as well. Mark, heard anything on Vlahovic? If Glazers would sanction a loan Juve out of the Champions League and under investigation, I'm shocked. No traction on this, says Nick. I mean, Nick, I think you've got to get realistic here. I mean, I would love us to do a João Felix deal, and I still think it's possible. But I also... Somebody said to me yesterday, we'll probably go for Ramos now from Benfica. And I was like, look, this is a story from The Athletic this morning. Manchester United decided they couldn't afford Cody Gakpo despite talks with his agent at Carrington in the last fortnight. So in the last 2 weeks, according to The Athletic, Manchester United have spoken with Cody Gakpo's agent and then decided they can't afford 37 million quid. And yet people are still linking us to people who will cost more than that. Forget Enzo Fernandez, forget Ramos, forget anybody that's going to cost anything more than 20 million quid. The Mail this morning are saying that Man United have pulled out of a bid for Malo Gusto from Lyon because Lyon want around 30 million quid. So United have had to park that till the summer. There's another opportunity for somebody else, because lo and behold, what happens within a couple of hours? Newcastle are in for Gusto. So this is absolutely crucifying Erik ten Hag's plans. In the summer, he got a lot of what he wanted. All right, he didn't get De Jong, he didn't get Timber, he didn't get Nunez, but he got a few that he wanted. This must be massively frustrating, because United leak information like a sieve. So Ten Hag is in the horrible position of the players that he wants being put out there publicly, then United can't afford them, and then rivals are going, ooh. So Gakpo's gone to Liverpool. Ten Hag would have thought he's going to get him. Gusto could end up going to Liverpool. Ten Hag probably would have thought he was going to... Newcastle. Enzo Fernandez could end up at Chelsea. He could lose 3 of his targets to 3 rivals because the Glazers are sat on their arse, refreshing their emails, waiting to see what big bid they're going to get from God knows where. And that is not backing your manager. That is screwing your manager. And I'm not going to repeat what we had our arguments about yesterday, where you'll get an absolute clown come plodding in with their oversized shoes and their stupid hair and say, "Wow, you spent £200 million in the summer." If you're one of those idiots that comes in here and says you spent £200 million in the summer, football's not for you. You're an absolute fool, because Erik ten Hag didn't write any cheques, and Man United spent over 60 million more than they should have done. We should have spent about £150 million in the summer, and then we would have had another 50 million to spend in January. The Glazers are completely at fault, but they're also at fault for the clowns that they employ. And it's not, you know what? I'm going to say this as well. I couldn't give a toss. I saw somebody this morning saying, even when the Glazers go, there's a danger that United will still be shit. Because what if somehow the new owners come in and, they keep John Murtagh, they keep the scouting department, they keep the recruitment, they keep Richard Arnold as CEO. We all assume that won't happen. It could happen. And it shouldn't happen. The Glazers quite rightly get full focus, and that's where the focus should be. But Murtagh's been there for years. He's been there since the David Moyes days. He might not have been the director of football, but he's been involved in recruitment. The last 10 years has been the worst recruitment I've ever seen. The spend is abysmal and, ridiculous because it's been so much. The recruitment is terrible. He's got to go. Richard Arnold, he's just Ed Woodward's mate. He's been there from the bloody start. He's got to go. And I have got no loyalty to those people, because time and time again, we've got the biggest Manchester United community in the world. Time and time again, the offer has been there. Let's have a chat. Let's have a chat. Let's have a chat. They won't do it. Now, some people will say, why should they? Exactly. Why should they? It's only the biggest Man United fan community in the world. Why should you talk to fans? Exactly. You speak to your little groups that you've created that have got friendly faces in it. But why should we sit here and go, they need to go? Why shouldn't we say that? We don't know who they are. All we know is the incompetence. That, Dumb and Dumber go on tour in the summer to Turin and Barcelona and come back with a tan. They've got to go. The Glazers are a disgrace, but these are facilitators. They facilitate the Glazers. In fact, at times they're worse than the Glazers, because what sometimes the Glazers do is go, there's £1 billion to spend, and these prats put it on a bonfire. They are incompetent, they are shit, and they need to go. It is not just the... I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. It is not just the Glazers that need to go. There is incompetence in that football club that is running through it like a tap being left on overnight. It is absolutely rife. The Glazers being replaced by investors who come in and go, we just want to invest, let's keep everyone in place, is the same scenario as what we've got now. Whoever takes over that club in their first week have got to sack about a lot of people. They've got to go, because it's not just that. It's worse than we think. If we don't sign anyone in January, a few injuries in key areas such as Varane, Casemiro, and we could be out of Europe, says Matthew. Look, you know, sadly, I said a year ago, we might not have hit the bottom of the barrel yet. I think we have. I think last May, when we had our worst ever Premier League finish, is as bad as it gets. But Ten Hag faces a different challenge. Ten Hag faces a challenge where he's clearly done very, very well, but he's now got two arms tied behind his back and everyone else is throwing punches. He might be powerless to stop the slide if it hits badly. Be honest, Mark, if someone would have asked you 4 months ago, would you expect no more spending this season if we were insured new owners, you would have taken that. Let's look more long-term now, says Paul. No, Paul, I appreciate the super chat, but I'm not living in a hypothetical knobhead world. Like, that is not real life, mate. That is not real life, and I'm not going to jump into that pool with you. It looks lovely. You've got a drink for me. There's plenty of tan, plenty of sun lotion, but I'm not getting in, and that's not because I don't want to get burnt or anything like that. It's because what you're talking about is fantasy. You cannot say to me, Paul, if I'd offered to you 4 months ago, we won't spend in January, but the Glazers will be gone in the summer. In a hypothetical world, of course we'd all take that, but that's not what's happening here. That's not what's happening here. You're taking a bad situation and putting a ribbon on it. We should be spending in January regardless of whether they sell. They're going to make £6 billion out of something they didn't even spend £1 billion on. Liverpool are spending money on Gakpo and they're for sale. We're for sale and we're not. That is the issue. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh well, you know what? At least they're going. It's like getting you. It's like someone pinning you down on the floor and booting you in the nuts in 10 times. Then on the 9th time, they said, "I'm only going to do it 10 times. Then I'm going to walk off." And you going, "Well, at least they'll be gone after this one." Oh, I'm not. In no way is this acceptable. I'll throw it back to you, Paul, in your swimming pool. Is it acceptable that a club like Manchester United is writing the season off again in January? And that's what's happening. It's not acceptable. But I think a lot of people are accepting it because they are doing what Paul's doing. Well, at least we're for sale. You don't even know who we're for sale to. You might be sat there going, well, I'll put up we're not spending in January if the Glazers are gone in the summer. And then in the summer, we've got worse owners. I think it's hard, almost impossible to have worse owners, but there might be owners that you don't like. I feel really bad for Ten Hag. He's been lied to and everything else, says Carl. Absolutely ridiculous, but I'm not surprised. Leeches to the end, says Michael. If you employ clowns, you have a circus, says Daniel Kirk. And welcome to Members Club, Nick J. So, look, Nick is positive about it, although he doesn't agree with it. But I don't see that as a way of justifying it. Well, at least they're going to sell the club, so I'll put up with not spending money in January. I won't put up with it because my standards as a United fan, and I believe many of your standards as a United fan, is this. We're not second best. We're not even third best, to be fair, but we're not. That's, you can lose, but you can't lose your mentality. And the standard of Man United is that we should be winning every game. We should be winning every tournament. We should be up there every tournament. And I will refuse to... It disgusts me to the core when we are basically putting up a white flag in January. And we are doing that. I don't care what anybody says. I'll argue with anybody. We are putting up a white flag. Now, ex-players on Sky and BT and all that bullshit, I'm sure they'll be going, United have got a great chance of top 4. Yeah, because on paper at the moment we have. If we could play this team that we've got at the moment every game, I think we'd get top 4. But that won't happen. We will get injury. We will get tired. We'll have to rotate. We're playing 3 games a week. That's why we won't get top 4. And people like Chelsea and Liverpool, who aren't even in the top 4 at the moment, are spending money. You can't compete with that. Erik Ten Hag has done a fantastic job at Manchester United. He really has. And he is doing a fantastic job. But he's now waking up to what we've known about this football club for a very long time. You will not get backed under the Glazers. The people in power at that club will screw you over. And unfortunately, it will cost you your potential. We could get top 4 this year. We should get top 4 this year. You know what? I was thinking about this last night. If we were Newcastle, forget we're Man United. If we were Newcastle and we've got Ten Hag in charge and we've got the same players, what would Newcastle's owners do in January? They would go, oh my God, Eric, you've done absolutely fantastic. We did spend a lot of money in the summer, but you've done a brilliant job. We can get top 4. What else do you want in January? Chelsea would do the same. Liverpool would do the same. Man City would do the same. What do Man United do? You've done fantastically well. Forget about it now because we're trying to sell the club and we're not going to back you. And that is so frustrating. That is so frustrating when you are competing for top 4 and every one of your rivals would back you and the club you're at won't. And that's where we're at. And people will say, you know, again, I'll come back to this. People will say, well, he got backed in the summer. You know nothing. You know nothing, Jon Snow. You know nothing. You know absolutely nothing. And you want to know why you know nothing? Because anybody with a brain knows that Manchester United need between 500 million and $1 billion spending on that team to compete with Man City or Liverpool. That's just a fact. Since when's 200 million, 500 million? The whole point of a rebuild is that you keep rebuilding. So all these clowns who go, you can understand why the Glazers don't want to back Ten Hag in January because they gave him £200 million in the summer. If I start building a house in March and it needs to be built by Christmas, and by mid-June I've built the ground floor, and then I say, can I have some more money to build the rest of it? And they go, no, we've already backed you. We've already backed you. It's not our fault. And you go, but you knew it was going to cost this much, and we're trying to build a house, not a bungalow. And even if it is a bungalow, can I have the money for the roof? No. So you're going to let me build the first floor with no roof on it. I can't build the second floor. You won't let me adapt it into a bungalow and build a roof. You're going to leave us with a first ground house which is open to the elements. Yeah. Right, that's not backing, and it's absolutely thick. Because you've left me completely exposed. This is not how you do it. And that's what we're doing this January. Yeah, we spent money in the summer, but it's not enough. That has to be the first level. You then have to build a roof, or you have to go to the next level. And we're basically saying, no, that's it. But you will get idiots going, yeah, you spent £200 million in the summer. Yeah, we need to spend about 500 to $1 billion on that team. Like, we've got no centre forward. We've got no right backs that play the way that Ten Hag wants to if Delo's injured. We still need a centre back. We still need another midfielder. So it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's like, you know what it is? It's like inviting Ten Hag to a party, giving him some money to buy a nice suit, giving him an invitation. He knocks on the door and they say, you're not invited, piss off. It's just stupid, absolutely stupid. But it all comes down to, it's logical. In the footballing world, it's stupid, but in the Glazer world, it's logical, because all they ever care about is money. And this whole, and look, I was thinking about this as well. Is there a justification to say you can understand that they won't spend any money in January because they want to sell the club? No, there isn't. Apart from they are greedy shits who've absolutely destroyed this club over the last 17 years. Their mentality is business, not football. If I was in charge of Man United and I was selling the club in March, would I not spend in January? No, it's just spiteful. There's no justification not to do it other than spite. Because look, the Glazers bought the club. Let me just do this super chat. Liverpool are spending despite a takeover, signings in price of sale. Put your money where your mouth is. Careless parasites. Happy New Year, says Tom Grant. Completely agree. Robert says, I have to be honest here, I don't think he's done a brilliant job. We played boring counter-attack football and second in Europa. Top 4 is a must, not an excuse, says Robert. There we go. There you go. Robert, you really do remind me of Pies. If you know, you know, on my FIFA Twitch career. I don't think you are that person, but you really, really do. Only a select few people will know what I'm on about there. But look, let me just explain this. Hi, Mark. Can you say hi to my kids, Ellis and Nathan? Says Dan. Hello to Ellis and Nathan. Hope you're being good. Thanks, Dan. So, look. As I say, we've always got to be two sides here, even though I don't agree with other sides. We must always promote the different angles because everybody has different opinions. Is that the situation is this? Because people will say, is there any justification for the Glazers not spending in January? And there isn't. But there's no justification for taking dividends. There's no justification for keeping the club in debt. They all are the same reason. Greed and couldn't give a shit. If I'm the Glazers, I bought the club on debt. I bought it on a loan. I didn't buy it with my own money. I bought it off a loan. I serviced that loan with the thing I bought's profits. So I basically bought the club for next to nothing. There was no real, I buy something, I get a mortgage basically on something, and then the mortgage repayments are paid for by the club. So I've spent very little money on this club. And let's not forget, the current Glazers inherited it because it was their dad who bought it. So these people who are selling the club and making the decisions, they've never really put anything into this football club. They inherited it anyway, and their dad bought it on debt. So there is no. It's not like if I buy a house and I spend 100 grand on it, and I want to sell it for 120 grand so I can make 20 grand profit. It's not like that. They didn't put any of their own money in, and all the debt has stayed, and the debt has been serviced by the club's revenues. So here we are in 2022, and they are going to sell the club. And remember, they've been taking dividends into their back pocket from the club. All the transfer money that gets spent is from the club. They've spent nothing of their own money on this football club. It's no money. People say, the Glazers have spent $1 billion. They haven't. Manchester United have spent $1 billion from their own revenue. That's another bugbear for United fans. The Glazers have spent $1 billion. The Glazers have spent 200 million last summer. No, they haven't. It's never come out of their pocket. It comes out of the club. And that is the club's revenue. And they've never put their own money in it. They just take. So they're going to sell the club, yeah? And they're going to sell the club for somewhere between 5 and 7 billion. They never spent a pound buying the club. And they're going to make a profit of, $1 billion each, probably. £1 billion for 17 years of putting nothing in. And here we are in January, a few months before they sell, and they're going, we're not spending any money on the club. You're going to make a cool $1 billion each, at least. And you are sat there going, we're not going to spend anything in January because we're trying to sell the club. I mean, is that the definition of a greedy shithead? I mean, absolute disgusting greed. You've spent nothing on this football club. You're going to make £1 billion each, and you are there in January saying we are not going to invest into this manager and this team. They are absolute sabotaging parasites. That is the only words I can think. They are sabotaging parasites who have, God knows how, got hold of our football club and absolutely destroyed it. And if the Premier League had a pair of balls, or FIFA or UEFA, they would do something about this, because this is absolutely disgusting that a football club can be in the hands of people like that, who completely destroy emotionally the fans of a football club that is one of the greatest football clubs in the world. That these greedy people can sabotage and destroy an institution like that and be allowed to do it. You know what? Football really is in the mud, isn't it? It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. But people don't want to assess it like I've assessed it there, because they'll go, De Gea Goldbridge is moaning about how the Glazers don't spend any money when they've just spent 200 million. They haven't spent 200 million. They haven't spent a pound of their own money. They spent Man United's money. And now they won't spend any Man United money because they're trying to make more profit out of this football club. What anybody who gives a shit about this football club would do, if I was selling this football club, all right, I might want 6 billion. I might have an offer on the table for 6 billion. But before I go, because I'd want to sleep at nights, because I'm a nice person, and because I care, I'd be like, you know what, the last 17 years have been absolute shit. You know, we've took money out, we've frustrated this football club, we've just frustrated these fans. I'm going to make £1 billion anyway. I don't even like football. I'm going to make £1 billion anyway. I'm going to do a good deed. There's 50 million, just go and get Gakpo. 50 million, just go and get him. Take it out of my billion, I don't care. Get the £50 million for Gakpo and get him. And you know what? Go and get a right back as well, because if we get Gakpo and we get a right back, this club will probably be in the Champions League, and then we walk away, and they'll never like us anyway, but at least we finish on a high where, you know, we've provided the new owners with an opportunity to go and build on something. And they can't even do that. We overpaid, but that doesn't mean we don't buy if we selling makes the club more attractive. Exactly, William. Exactly. Wait, so we are getting absolutely no one, says Daniel. I think we will get people on loan, but they don't want to spend any money. That's coming in from Fabrizio this morning. Mark, Newcastle have spent far less than United are doing better, so why does United need to spend 500 million? Surely it's quality over quantity, says Zane. Yeah, but Zane, you're sticking your nose in the beehive there as an Arsenal fan, and I'm not being offensive to you, but just take your nose out. You know, anybody who ever sticks their nose into United's business and starts talking about you've spent 200 million, you've spent $1 billion, you expose yourself as an idiot within milliseconds because you've got no idea about how this football club runs. And unless you've read about it, and unless you do your homework, I've got no time for any rival sticking their nose in United's business. I wouldn't do it about Liverpool's ownership. All I know is that a lot of Liverpool fans do not want money from owners like PSG or Man City or Newcastle. I'm not going to sit here and say they're idiots. It's their football club, and they've probably got very good reasons why that is. And it's the same with United and finances. People want to stick their nose in, and the best thing is don't do it because it's layered. Love the content from USA. Greedy Glazers give Ten Hag what he wants, says Samuel. And there are no nice people in business, Mark. No good deeds. The Glazers will take anything that isn't nailed down with them, says Charlie. Well, you say that, and yet Liverpool are spending money in January and trying to sell in March. I said this yesterday. Liverpool owners want to leave a legacy. FSG want to leave a legacy. Yes, they want to make money, but they want to leave a legacy. They want to walk away, and Liverpool fans look back at them and go, well, they won as a Champions League, they won as a Premier League, they bought in January, and they sold us to a decent owner. They want a legacy. The Glazers don't. They are absolutely despicable. And I would go as far as to say to this, I hope United never and ever end up in the hands of anybody like that ever again. I really hope it. But I'd go even further, and I think a lot of United fans would agree with me. I hope no football club, not even Liverpool, ends up with owners like the Glazers. Because as a human being, there's rivalry and there's that misery. I would not wish this on Liverpool. And I don't want Liverpool to win anything, but I would not wish a Glazer-type ownership on any football club. It is horrible. It is absolutely horrible, and I don't think football fans deserve it. You don't deserve that type of ownership. You don't deserve to be owned by people whose sole purpose is to bleed you dry. You don't deserve it. And this may be coming towards an end, but I find this as frustrating as anything that the Glazers have done, whether it's the Super League, whether it's sacking managers, recruiting, signing, whatever they've done over the last 17 years, and they've done a lot, you know, not rebuilding the stadium, letting it rot. I think that this January transfer window is right up there with one of the worst things they've ever done. Because the worst thing about this is that we've actually got the right manager. We've actually got the players playing for the manager. We're actually in a position where we could win the Carabao Cup, we could win the Europa League, we could win the FA Cup, and we could get top four. All four of those things are possible because of the development and progress we're making under Eric Ten Hag. And what the Glazers have done as we hit a very, very important transfer window is they've grabbed the handbrake, slapped Ten Hag in the face, pulled the handbrake off, took the keys and legged it. And Ten Hag is there with a sore face, handbrake on and no keys, and he can't continue the journey. And that's a disgrace. Whether you're selling the club or not, that is why for me the Premier League, you know, need to get a set of balls, or UEFA or FIFA, because it's internal sabotage. It's basically sabotage. It is the owners of a football club halfway through. You know, the Premier League is the best league in the world. This is the most competitive league in the world. And we'll get no sympathy from this, but it's true. Our owners have basically taken the ball and run. Halfway through a season, where is the integrity of that? Where is the integrity of that when the owners of a football club say, right, that's it. We're not doing anything anymore because we're selling the club. And I don't even know if United fans can get their head around it. So I certainly don't think the Premier League, UEFA or rival fans will get their head around it. But what is happening here is they are basically saying, that's it, we're out. Our interest in United stops here. We are not spending money until this club is sold, and then the new owners can do it. And look, we're probably not the first club it's happened to. Newcastle had this problem a lot. But it makes us uncompetitive. It's worse not to spend means no top four, but also wasting a 1 year of players like Varane, Casemiro, Eric Ten Hag. It works in cycles. Delays mean we need to replace, says SK. Why are we so angry? We all said in Eric Ten Hag's first season is about improvement and style of play. Be patient, says Sulai. Well, you've just been answered by the previous comment. What do you mean why we're so angry? Well, how can you progress and be patient if the handbrake's on? Look, like, we have made progress. That's the whole point, Sulai. I don't know whether you're listening, but for the last 5 months, we've made progress. What if the next 5 months there is no progress because we've basically got the handbrake on? You know, we're treading water. My only hope is that we somehow salvage a few hundred million. We somehow salvage 20 million and do this João Felix deal, because if we don't, I don't know what we will end up doing. I mean, I saw we got linked to Morata this morning, which is an interesting one in itself. But, you know, people forget about Morata. Like, Morata failed at Chelsea. I mean, Morata might come in and score a couple of goals, but he's not as good as Cavani. It's not a step forward, is it, to bring Morata in? It's pure panic desperation. And look, we'll all be there hoping Morata scores. Agallo scored. I remember Agallo scoring in his first few weeks, and people loved him. You know, he was massively popular, and then people realised he's actually not that good. So, you know, Morata could come in next week and score a goal against Bournemouth, and everyone will go, oh, he's great, because that's short-termism. But I guarantee you, in the long term, it will be an absolute waste of money. So that's what you're talking about. You've got Liverpool going for Gakpo, you've got Chelsea going for Enzo Fernandez, you've got United using Scott McTominay and Fred because they haven't bought a midfielder, and trying to get people like Morata in, who, let's be honest, the only way you compete in this league with the real teams is by buying players that they want. Liverpool have bought Gakpo because we wanted him. Chelsea are going in for Enzo Fernandez because we want him. I'm not saying that they're monitoring what we're doing, but they're going for those types of players because they're the players we should be going for. Gakpo to Liverpool just shows to me that Ten Hag's right again, because he's gone for a player and should have got a player that Klopp wants. What a miss that is. What a miss that is. We could have got a player that Klopp wants and has. He would have come to us, and he's gone to Liverpool. Enzo Fernandez would come to us and could go to Chelsea. How many more of those how many more players are there out like that out there? There's not an infinite pool of talent at that level, and that's what we should be going for. Klopp don't want Morata. Graham Potter doesn't want Morata. They don't want Memphis either. Neither does Arsenal. Why are we in for that? Why are we looking at Morata? Why are we looking at that? Do any of them want Thuram? No. Why would we look at that? You've got to, if you want to close the gap on teams that are better than you, you've got to bring players in that they want. But this is what happens when there's no money left. You have to get creative. You have to get desperate. When everyone else is shopping in Harrods and you're shopping in the Poundland, you're not going to get what they're going to get from Harrods because they've got the money to spend. You might get something decent from Poundland, but it's in Poundland for a reason. The only way to get top four is to get knocked out in the Europa League, says Michael. And imagine having owners that improve stadium, training centres and not spending on transfers when needed. FSG do exactly that. FSG or the Glazers, says B. Well, look, Liverpool's owners have been better than ours. FSG have been much better than the Glazers, and they're selling. And Anfield is being renovated right now. You know, some United fans don't look at any other club. They're only focused on us. That's absolutely fine. Anfield is being renovated right now. They're building Anfield up right now. They've just bought Gakpo. They're in the race for Bellingham and they're for sale. So there is absolutely no justification for the behaviour of the Glazers other than pure sabotage and greed. It's shithousery. It shouldn't be allowed. FSG have got Liverpool for sale. Anfield is being renovated. They've just bought Cody Gakpo and they're in talks to get Bellingham in the summer. And yet that club's for sale. So all this bullshit of the Glazers going, we're not spending any money while we're trying to sell the club, is completely personal greed. Because it's actually the complete opposite of what you should be doing. When you're trying to sell something, you should be trying to make it its best. You know, Liverpool basically are selling the car, the Ferrari, and it's clean, it's in pristine condition. Across the road, United are selling the Glazers are selling United, and the Ferrari is muddy. It's got a flat tyre. It's rusty. The engine doesn't work, and yet we're charging double the price of the Ferrari across the road. That's how stupid the Glazers are. They just want as much money as they can get for something that they don't want to put any money into anymore. It's mercenary. Mark, let's be honest, the Glazers don't care. They are owners. Why they care? No, they're no longer owner. Next season, it's not fair, but still they don't care, says Jay. Okay, thank you. The Glazers are like an angry kid that doesn't take the ball with him when he's out of the game, says Marcus. Sack the lot and bring in Ranić, says Charlie Max. Okay. Well, look, that's the update for this morning. I wish it was more cheery, but the reality is this is the story coming in from Fabrizio this morning and many other outlets that the Glazers won't spend while they're trying to sell the club. That Gakpo and his agent were at Carrington a couple of weeks ago. Not Gakpo, his agent was at Carrington a couple of weeks ago to discuss a deal, but United didn't do it because they couldn't afford it. No right back in January because we can't afford it. And we are basically looking at people like Morata on loan. So, you know, effectively, Ten Hag is not being backed by the Glazers. They refuse to back him as they look to sell the football club. So, yet again, for the second year in a row, we find ourselves in a position as one of the biggest football clubs in the world who are effectively giving up halfway through the season and saying, we're not in this race. And let me just hammer home on that one. Chelsea will spend, Newcastle will spend, Arsenal will spend, Liverpool have already spent, and I believe Spurs will do something as well. There are 6 teams competing for the top 6, 7 actually, and we're going to let everybody else spend, and we're not going to. Tell me that's not writing the season off in January for the second year in a row. I hope we can get João Felix. I still think that has to happen. It's not a huge investment. It's a loan deal. We need a player of that quality. I think we're in the last chance saloon. If we don't get João Felix, we are ending up with some right stupid, risky shit. But I still hope we're going to get João Felix. But from people well placed, close to the club yesterday, this is as bad as it's ever been. It's chaos. I mean, I was told yesterday to feel sorry for certain people on the board I'll never feel sorry for, but apparently the Glazers have basically just said, forget about it. There's no money to spend. You're not spending any money. So it's sabotage. That's basically what it is. They are sabotaging our chances of being successful and focusing on trying to sell the club so they can make a cool £1 billion each, having put zero money. And don't forget that the Glazers, it was their dad who bought the club. He's not alive anymore. They've inherited something they've put no money into. Not a pound. They've already bled it for millions over the last 10 years, and now they're going to take $1 billion each. They're a disgrace. Never, as I say, I hope no football club ever ends up with the Glazers type ownership again. I wouldn't wish it on our biggest enemy. It's a horrible, horrible ownership model, and football is for the fans, and they've been an absolute disgrace. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. We'll be back probably at 2 o'clock as well. We'll see what today brings. Have a good day, and I'll speak to you all in a bit.